But when someone was acting in a public capacity in their job as a custody evaluator, in their job as a judge, well, it's time for their real name actually to go up in public. People need to start being held accountable. And so I started learning about a very powerful Ottawa County case, and I ended up taking a couple of stories and writing about them extensively on my blog. And one case in particular that I want to talk to you a little bit about today is a case of a woman who goes by Wendi Miller. And Wendi was involved with a guy who was a pastor, Reformed Church of America pastor, who was very physically and sexually violent towards her, sexually abusive for years and years in their marriage. And then her daughter ended up disclosing to her that after she split up from her husband, her daughter, Wendy's daughter, disclosed to her that she was being sexually abused by her father. Their father was sleeping with her naked, and I don't have to tell you more about the details of the sexual abuse, but it was graphic and disturbing. And Wendy's son confirmed not that he had seen the abuse directly, but that he had seen the father in bed with his sister, and that he'd seen a lot of things that essentially confirm, very, very well confirm what the daughter was saying. There was a child advocacy center evaluation done by 2 social workers and a sheriff's deputy, where these children talked about what had happened. You couldn't, no parent could possibly have rehearsed this much material. If these children were the top flight of Broadway actors, they still could not memorize this much material. There's no way for them to have been coached and rehearsed to make these pages and pages and pages of statements, very detailed. This is what happened this day, then this happened, then this is what happened, then this is what I felt, then this is what I saw, then this is what I was told after this, then this is how, on and on and on and on and on. Wendi worked very hard to get protection for her kids. She was not believed. She ended up going into hiding for 18 days. It was less than 3 weeks, actually, that the kids were kept away from their father right after she had learned about her daughter's disclosures. Very short time that she was away before she turned herself back in. Judge Hulsing refused to allow the forensic evaluation that these 2 social workers and law enforcement officer had done into evidence. He said, we're going to bar it to protect the children's privacy. And besides, we have adequate access to this other information, to the same information from other sources, so we don't need this evaluation, except that he then went on to conclude that the mother had put the children up to making their statements of sexual abuse, which you could not read this evaluation and conclude, and custody has been with dad ever since. Mom was jailed for 90 days, which she served 60 of for the 18 days that she was missing with the child right after these entirely credible reports of sexual abuse were made to her by her mom. I want to add another little point in here, which is that the research on children who have been sexually abused finds that the number one factor in how well they will do long term is whether their mother believes them and whether their mother takes steps to protect them after they disclose the abuse to her. So I want you to notice that family courts across the continent are punishing mothers for doing what the research tells us is what they most need to do for the good of their children when their children disclose sexual abuse to them. Their children need mom to believe them and take steps to keep them safe from the abuse. Wendy's story is one of the stories that's going to be featured in our play, and Wendi has been a tremendous inspiration to me. I've met her only twice over the years, but have corresponded with her and learned about her case and had occasional phone conversations. She's been a tremendous inspiration to me with her continuing advocacy, not only about her own case and fighting for her own children, but fighting, despite all this stress and distress, being able to continue to fight for the rights of other kids. And she now, with numerous allies that she's gathered with, is forming an organization to work for better protection for kids in family law processes, to work for family law reforms, creating a nonprofit that's being announced today. And so I'm going to just bring her up and give her a few minutes to tell you about the efforts that she's making and some of the people that she's working with. So if you would come up, Wendi.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you today. Let me say that first. All of you are here for many different reasons today. Mine being different from some of yours, mine being completely familiar and could relate to many of you in this room. And some of you have suffered just as much as I have, if not more, in your own situations, in your own domestic violence, as well as watching your children suffer. I don't wish that upon anybody. And I know you understand what I mean. Those of you who've been through it, get it. And those of you who work with women who've been through it, get it. You understand. I stand here today taking a stand for what the last 6 years of my life in particular have represented what Lundy shared today. And I just kind of wanted to invite you into that picture a little bit deeper to understand what's taken place, and then share about the positive change that we're bringing to this country starting today. I want to show you a picture of my kids. This is actually the very picture that sat next to my bed for the last 6 years since they were taken away. I look at this every day, I kiss it every night. Pray for them. I don't know how many of you have a picture like this sitting next to your bed, but most of you, and some of you, even family court officials that sit in this room, tuck your kids in at night, and you kiss them, and you pray with them, you sing to them. I used to do that too, before everything changed. After my children were taken through the family court system here in Ottawa County, this was a form of communication that I had with my children, this very cell phone that was confiscated numerous times as my kids cried out for help again and again to mommy, but they couldn't get through because the phone was taken away again and again. This is the locket that my daughter threw across the car after all the disclosures of sexual abuse. That has a picture of her father in it that he gave to her. She threw it across the car, never to see it again. This is the pen that I spent 61 days writing with in Ottawa County Jail after protecting my child and my children from further abuse. I know there's other women in this room and people across the country that I have met that were jailed for similar reasons. It's not okay. These are the 200 letters and postcards that I got from people all over this country telling me to not give up, to not stop fighting while I spent 60 days behind bars, that said, don't give up, keep fighting for your kids. We believe in you. We're praying for you. Gave me scripture, encouraged me nonstop. This letter, this envelope has sat in a drawer next to my bed for the last several years. I read these often, and I'm thankful for the prayers and the encouragement of the people, some of even in this room that supported me through that process. Lastly, I want to read something to you from my daughter. She gave this to me at Christmas. Dear Mom, I love you so much. Words can't even describe how I'm thankful for you. I don't even know how I ended up with the best mom in the world. I know that I could never repay you for what you've done for me. But I know that my love is enough. I love you, Mama. Never forget that. She gave this to me at Christmas. My kids have been gone for 6 years. I've been out of jail 4 years ago. I got out of jail here in Ottawa County. Something happened in that process. All the women and the men that I've met all over the country, parents who protect their children and have fought to protect their children in the family court system and have lost and have suffered. And I've met kids all over the country who've suffered at the hands of the family court system, like mine. And my heart breaks every day for the 58,000 children who are taken away annually from protective parents and given to abusers in the United States. This happens annually. 58,000 children are taken. This is a problem. This is more than a problem, because all of this has lifelong effects where healing needs to happen and change needs to happen. And today I stand here as an advocate, not just for my kids, but for kids all over this country that are not being protected in the family court system. Each one of us in this room has a choice to make, starting today. You have a choice to choose to stand up, to protect kids, protect their healing, protect them from further abuse in the system and being left in the hands of the abuser. Or we choose to be a part of the continuous corruption that Lundy shared about and our nonprofit will share about and educate about. You have a choice to make. You're going to live in one camp or the other, because apathy is a camp. And it's time for change. It's time for change.
Congratulations, Wendi, and to all of you who are working with the Wings for Justice project. And it's so difficult coming through a personal trauma like that to then go forward and taking it on as a public cause. So I think we should be extra admiring of that effort. By the way, I made reference to that forensic evaluation that was barred from evidence on Wendi's case. I did a very careful redacting of that forensic eval to take out any reference to the children's names or various other things that could identify who the children are. And it's available on my website. And my website is down due to technical difficulties, but it'll be up within about 5 or 6 days. And it's just called lundybancroft.com. So it's easy to remember the name of my website. And if you go to the articles section, which are just all free downloads, you'll find one that's called Forensic Report. And you can see it's the whole forensic report just in redacted form. So you can see who the evaluators were, you can see what questions they asked, and you can see what word for word what the kids said in their evaluation. And I think it's important for a number of reasons, but one of the things that you'll hear sometimes when people are defending the family court's failure to protect kids is say, well, you know, the family court's it's just the sort of the mom's word against the dad's. They don't know who to believe. And there are, well, essentially every case that I have investigated, and I've investigated probably 3 or 4 dozen cases from across the country, there's all kinds of other evidence besides the dad's word and the mom's word. And all you have to do is look carefully at the evidence, and in the overwhelming majority of these cases, the evidence would convince any reasonable person. So it's not about his word against hers. It's about any kind of standard of when children need to be protected.